Once upon a time, there was a kind man and his wife in a distant country. They wanted to have a baby more than anything in the world, and one day a woman proudly and joyfully informed her husband that they would have a baby. The family's house stood against a high wall that surrounded the evil witch's beautiful garden. No one ever dared to look there, for fear of bringing misfortune on their heads. But the woman sometimes admired from the small attic window of the house the beautiful flowers, wonderful trees and magical herbs that the witch grew. Unfortunately, the future mother fell ill, she lost her appetite, and the caring husband put his wife to bed. He carefully cared for his beloved, bringing her something delicious every day, but, alas, his wife did not eat anything. "Honey, just tell me what you want, and I'll get it," my husband pleaded. "I want to taste the Rapunzel herb that grows in the witch's garden." The desire to see his wife healthy and happy again helped the loving husband to overcome fear. When it was dark, he climbed over the high fence and found himself in the forbidden garden. The man's heart seemed about to jump out of his chest, so hard was it beating with excitement. Quickly finding a bed of grass, the husband picked greens and hurried home. His wife actually felt much better after eating some grass. The next morning the young woman asked for more greens. "Please, honey, bring me that." Late that night, her husband sneaked into the garden again. But before he could pluck a couple of stalks of grass, the old witch appeared out of nowhere. The thief, caught. "How dare you climb into my garden? Please have mercy. My wife got sick and asked me to bring her some greens." "Well, all right. Keep the grass for yourself, however, with a condition: you will give me your first." A few weeks later, the happy couple had a beautiful daughter. And on the same day, an old evil witch appeared in their house. The parents begged the old woman to leave them the child, but she did not even listen to them. "I'll call her Rapunzel," the evil witch laughed maliciously, grabbed the baby, and took her to her house. Rapunzel grew up to be a real beauty. Her eyes were the color of violets, and her hair was as luxuriant as a strand of gold. When the girl was 12 years old, the old woman took her to a dense forest. There the sorceress locked Rapunzel in a high tower without doors and steps with a small window in the only room at the top. There was only one person Rapunzel could see, an ugly. She would go to the foot of the tower and shout, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, put down." The poor girl obediently did what the witch told her to do. The ugly old woman, as if on a tightrope, climbed up her luxurious braid to the little room. One day the prince, lost in the forest while hunting, heard a delightful female singing. Rapunzel sang it so that she wouldn't feel lonely. The prince rode up to the tall tower. Dismounting, he tried in vain. It was getting dark, and the young man had to return home, but the next day he continued his search. For many days the young man tried to get into the tower and see the singer. And one day he got lucky. Standing in the bushes and enjoying the wonderful voice of the invisible singer, the prince saw the witch. He crouched and watched the "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, put down your scythe," the hag ordered. Immediately a wonderful golden braid appeared from the window, and the old woman climbed up it into the window. "So this is what I need to do to finally see who is singing so beautifully." The young man was delighted. In the evening, standing at the foot of the tower, he said, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, put down your scythe." And a few moments later, a tangle of golden strands hung out of the window. Rapunzel had never seen a man in her life. With a startled cry, she shrank back into the corner. "Who are you?" the girl breathed out faintly. "Don't be afraid of me," the prince said gently, taking her slender fingers in his hand. He fell in love with the lovely creature at first sight. "I just wanted to know who sings so beautifully." And the prince told Rapunzel how he used to come to the tower every day to listen to her singing. Gradually, the girl calmed down. "Marry me, and we will leave this terrible place," Prince Rapunzel suggested. The young handsome prince liked the girl very much. "Oh, you filthy girl. And I thought she'd hidden you," the sorceress hissed. "And you've been fooling me all this time. I'll happily run away with you, but how do I get out of here?" You can go down my spit, but what about me? After a moment's thought, the captive suggested, come to me every evening and bring some silk threads with you. I'll make a strong rope out of them, and we'll climb down and run away together. The prince began to come to the beauty every evening. From the threads he brought with him, the girl wove a strong rope. The witch didn't seem to notice anything until Rapunzel, daydreaming about why is it harder to lift you than the prince. She took out a huge pair of scissors, grabbed Rapunzel by the wonderful braid, and cut it off. Then the wicked old woman struck the girl on the arm, and in a moment she was alone in a valley. In the evening, the vile hag returned to the tower and waited for the prince. Soon she heard the voice of a young man. The witch tied one end of the braid to a heavy chair near the window and lowered the other end to the prince. The prince quickly climbed up. But in the window, instead of a beautiful girl, he was met by an old witch. She's gone. She's gone for you forever. The hag screamed and pushed the young man down. He fell on a bramble bush, and its sharp thorns scratched the prince's eyes. Seeing nothing in front of, so he wandered, sad and blind, through the forests and mountains for many years. More than anything, the young man wanted to find his beloved. The prince asked everyone he met about a girl with violet eyes and short golden hair, but no one had ever seen her anywhere. One day a young man found himself in a valley. Suddenly it seemed to him that somewhere nearby someone was singing. I know that voice. It belongs to my beloved. The poor blind man went to the place where the beautiful singing came from and soon found his betrothed. The young man was very thin, his clothes turned into pathetic rags, but Rapunzel immediately recognized her lover. From happiness and pity, the girl began to cry. Her tears fell on the eyes of the betrothed, and a miracle happened. The young man regained. Together they went to the prince's kingdom and had a lavish wedding there. Word of the happy couple spread throughout the land. Rapunzel's mother and father found out that their daughter had become a princess.